I'm Terry Sacka, and this is Rigged Against You. World War III escalation, by now, pretty much everyone has heard about it, but this is exactly the stuff that I said was going to be coming. They are escalating, and in a way, if you think about it, if Russia put troops in Mexico on our border and started launching long-range missiles into the United States, what would we do? This is such a serious provocation, and most people just need to understand what this means, but this is the end result. This is, now, many don't believe that this is happening. Many don't believe this is coming. They don't think that Putin is serious. But you have to understand that this is on the threshold of major banks right now. There are hundreds of banks in the United States in deep trouble, hundreds of them. There are hundreds and hundreds of billions in unrealized losses on the commercial loan side. When they refinance at these higher rates, are going to have to mark those losses to the book. And this is just the beginning. There is a lot of shell games going on behind the scenes in the accounting with the banking system. And that's just the beginning. We're not talking about the new currency unit backed by gold with the BRICS. We're not talking about all the other changes taking place that Russia is getting involved in. And at the end of this podcast, I'll explain the most important one regarding silver and gold. I know I'm about as positive as you can get with the dramatic mandate changes that are taking place right now. I mean, this is a big deal. This isn't just a victory in the election. This was an overwhelming mandate. This was a shutdown of the insanity that was taking place in our country. But here we are on the verge of transitioning to a completely different government, and probably, hopefully for all of our sake, a smaller government. This smaller government will, and that's as hopefully Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy gets in there. We get a smaller government. We can cut down this inflation. We become energy independent. We can change the trajectory of the inflation. But the trillions upon trillions that are going to have to be printed and lowering of these rates, because we are in and entering in a global recession. But getting into this level of escalation is unbelievable. I mean, really, you have 2 months left and you have to go to this extreme. And this is very serious, folks. I was in the Army and I had a NATO secret clearance in nuclear warfare. I understand exactly what this is. And I want to explain to people because I love my country, but at the same time, we were the ones who escalated this situation. You have to know that was situated, and I'll get in when I show the map, but you have to know that this all started in 2014 when the alphabet soups of the West overthrew the Ukrainian government, and then they supplied them with weapons to start bombing actual passport-carrying Russians in the eastern half of Ukraine. That territory has always really been Russian territory, and they were bombing and harassing these people in the east and escalating it to the point we were even flying B-52 bombers as close as we can to Russian territory. Now, if you're Russia, how would you respond? They don't trust the West. You have to look back to World War II. What happened? Yeah, Germany invaded Russia and tried to destroy the whole nation. Russia has 76 trillion in natural resources. The West would love to not only disrupt Russia, get corporate goons in there for those natural resources, but stop this BRICS. But this is full-blown Western antagonization. And I'm telling you, everyone keeps saying it's Russia that invaded Ukraine. They had no choice. Look at World War I, the same thing. England did the same thing to Germany. They forced them to do it. And it's serious, especially like right now. This is a big alert because the Kremlin has now said that the AATACMS strikes is a new turn in the escalation of this. The Kremlin said Monday any U.S. decision to allow Ukraine to fire American missiles, which, by the way, have to have American technology, American intel to fire these things, deep into Russia marks a new turn of escalation. This means it was directly involved in the conflict. The United States will be. adding that Russia will react appropriately. And I'm telling you, folks, they don't in the West believe Russia will. I think they're pushing to potential, what I would call tactical nuclear weapons, which is the ones I worked on, which they have a kind of a limited explosive rate. But why wouldn't they at this point? They're pushing way too hard. Russia has been telling the West for months how it would interpret such a decision, and it would raise the risk of a confrontation with the U.S.-led NATO alliance. President Putin made Russia's position absolutely clear when he spoke in St. Petersburg in September. Peskov said Putin said September 12th that Western approval for such steps would mean the direct involvement of NATO countries in attacking Russian sovereign soil. The United States and European countries in the war in Ukraine, because NATO military infrastructure and personnel would have to be involved in the targeting and firing of these missiles. It is obvious that the outgoing administration in Washington intends to take steps to continue adding fuel to the fire and continue to provoke tensions around the conflict. And I got a little something there. Silver reserves created. Wait till you see where all of this goes. There's so much more to this than just the conflict in Ukraine. Proving these missiles is absolutely insane. Now, I talked about how there was something else coming. They were going to escalate this situation. And I still contend it goes back to the fact that the West is in deep financial trouble. Now, do I have high hopes that President Trump can get in there and turn this thing around? As he said, he would like to take us back to the golden age. I actually believe he can, especially now that he wants to make the United States the crypto capital of the world. There is tremendous opportunity here for wealth to transfer for those that get into crypto as well. The problem is we're also going into digital realms, which I don't like, and which why gold and silver is paramount. And for those that don't think, they'll need gold and silver anymore because Trump is going to tackle inflation, you have to understand first, we have to get to that point. We have to implement policies, become energy independent, and put in place things to bring down inflation. Inflation is still screaming high and climbing. We are printing trillions right now. And with hundreds of banks on the chop block, there is so much instability in the financial system. You are not being told. I absolutely would take serious that stock market's coming down. Now, I know many don't believe this. They just think everything's okay, but you are going to get a correction in that market. It is due and it is needed. The fact is, how deep will it go? 20%, 30% or more? Does this escalate further, getting China involved? What else is going to happen here? All I know is the Western financial system is in deep trouble and they're pushing to this level. This is what happens if you look through history when it comes to these kind of financial pinches. They go to war. This is very, very serious, especially at this point. Ukraine's AATACMS strike on Russia comes after Putin lowered the threshold, meaning if they attack, if they hit the wrong target in Russia, you absolutely could see nukes going towards Ukraine. If I were Putin, I would. Who would allow someone that close attacking their own country? If this never would have happened, if we didn't provoke and didn't overthrow Ukraine and didn't supply the weapons from the West for Ukraine to instigate Russia, to force Russia to get in there, stop the biolabs, and get down the Nazis that were inside Ukraine. This wouldn't happen. But these AATACMS, very interesting missile system. But they're allowing Ukraine to use this. It's a really unique system, and it's launched by a vehicle, this HIMARS vehicle. I can see where Russia will destroy a lot of these because they can track them. But if you look in the middle of this map, you'll see the Russian territory that'll be within the range of these HIMARS. It's a big deal because it's just outside Moscow. And I know they're saying there's a maximum range to this, but these AATACMS, it's a whole nother animal because the AATACMS can get up to 300 miles. And they can launch from an HIMARS vehicle and that the U.S. has provided to Ukraine. The U.S. is making this happen and giving them the intel, which means we are directly involved in taking on the Russian sovereign territory. If you see these red dots, this is the area that these ATACMS can go into. It's not good. You see the Russian or the red color there around the brown area of Ukraine. Let me break this a little bigger. The brown area is Ukraine. The red areas is where Russia pushed in. What they were doing was creating a buffer. That is the region of Donetsk and some other areas where they were sovereign Russian citizens, Russian passport carrying citizens. These were the territories that Ukraine was instigating, and Russia finally said, enough, we are going to support our people. But you start launching missiles deep into Russia like this, it changes everything. And it's not a good situation, especially at the time the West is in deep trouble financially. You now have the BRICS currency coming in with 40% backed by gold. And yes, when I said a silver exchange is created, Russia is now creating a silver exchange. They already have an exchange in Shanghai that deals directly with physical gold, and now they're moving into the white metals, meaning the exchanges that control the white metals, especially silver in the West, which, by the way, the American exchange only has about 2 weeks of physical supply that's actually eligible. There will be real price discovery. You will see real price discovery come to gold and come to silver because the West is losing control because of the manipulation and derivatives they've been using all this time. So it's not just about the escalation itself. It's about the fact, this is why this is so big. You have to connect the dot. It is about the fact the West is in very serious financial state. We are literally done in a lot of ways in the debt system that we have, not just America, but Europe itself. You can see Germany is already falling apart. It is bad news in the banking system in the West. And I think there is a deep panic and pushing these buttons, allowing long-range missiles to go into Russia is a way to provoke, and I mean provoke, Putin into reacting. If I were Putin, I'd be reacting. He is the coolest cat I've ever seen, hoping we get in there with Donald Trump and stop this insanity, because this is unacceptable. Again, would we allow Russia to be in Mexico and to be in Canada launching missiles into our country? No. So why do we believe Russia will allow it? This form of escalation will absolutely collapse the stock market. And you want to see where gold and silver prices go? Hang on. So this is a very serious escalation. The media is downplaying as it's no big deal, probably won't have much impact, but there is a limit to the patience of the Russian hierarchy. And I'm telling you when I say this, Putin is a moderate. The ones behind him and around him are far more aggressive, and we could have the most destabilized world in a blink of an eye. And it is not necessary. There is no reason whatsoever to do this. We can get back to building the supply chain, get back to global economies, recreating solid relationships. This form of living, form of killing and escalating of death and mayhem and destruction is unacceptable. Putin would pull back in a second if he was giving guarantees that we're not going to stick long-range missile bombers on his border. Would we allow it? No. That was called the Cuban Missile Crisis. Did we allow it? No. So why do we think this is acceptable? And I really believe the Western media is not giving you the depth of it, but I would get really prepared because we have a tremendous opportunity to bring back unbelievable wealth to America. If we can slash some of these rates, really get the economy moving, bring manufacturing into the United States, and for those that have the know-how, get into certain cryptos as we go into a bull market in crypto, because this is technical. Cryptos are digital money. They run the system behind the stocks and the bonds and the financial transactions and financial contracts. If you get in and understand it, you'd realize they're not about the memes, the goofy ones like Dogecoin. The real stuff is technology that is running the digital world and will run the digital world going forward. So hang tight and stay focused, and don't think everything is just fine right at this moment. We still have to get to January 20th. So until next time, God bless you.
With all of the recent changes in the political and financial markets, there has never been a better time than right now to invest in silver and gold. When governments simply print billions of dollars in paper money in hopes of solving financial shortfalls, you know that it is time to buy and hold assets of true and lasting value. Free information is available to you right now by calling 888-747-3309. Whether you are a new investor or you're interested in preserving the value of your retirement accounts, we make it easy for you to make smart decisions for your financial future. The specialists at Cornerstone are here to serve you, work to satisfy your retirement goals, and communicate with respect. Call us right now at 888-747-3309. That's 888-747-3309. Or visit us online at cornerstoneassetmetals.com. That's cornerstoneassetmetals.com.